is can be achieved different two ways. According to Theravada tradition, cessation can be achieved through practice of 37 paths or 37 practices. Among the 37, the first four mindfulness are very important. The mindfulness of physical body, mindfulness of mind, and then the mindfulness of the mind or consciousness, and mindfulness of the phenomena. Clear? There are the four mindfulness. Mindfulness of physical body, feeling, mind, and phenomena. So within the four, when you do the mindfulness of mind, then first you need to achieve a single pointed meditation to fully try to understand the mind. Second, when you understand the mind, then you need to know the nature of the mind. So in order to know the nature of the mind or the emptiness of the mind, then you need to enter into the Madhyamaka teachings or Madhyamaka school, right? There's no Four Noble Truths. Within the Four Noble Truths, the cessation can be achieved through different ways. One, based on the Theravada tradition. Second is based on the Mahayana tradition. According to Theravada tradition or Pali tradition, they mainly practice the 37. Within the 37 practice, first four mindfulness. The four mindfulness are very important to enter into the Four Noble Truths. Within the four, the last one, the mindfulness of the mind. When you fully meditate on the mind, the second you need to analyze about the mind. When you analyze about the mind, then you will realize the emptiness of the mind. In order to understand emptiness of the mind, then you need to study the Madhyamaka's teaching, mainly the Nagarjuna text. There's 6 root texts. Within the 6, the Madhyamaka Karika is very important. Second is Nagarjuna had many disciples. Among the disciples, Aryadeva was very important disciples. So when you study the two texts, the Madhyamaka Avatara Karika, the 400 stanza, therefore you very easy to understand emptiness. Second, His Holiness emphasized very much about the stanza from 400 verses. First, the karmas, afflictive emotions rooted by ignorance, right? That means due to the karmas, so we have a pleasant, unpleasant kind of life. And the karma is depend on the afflictive emotions. All afflictive emotions arise from ignorance. Therefore, it is very important to realize emptiness. Without realize emptiness, we cannot really eliminate the ignorance. The second, why we need to realize emptiness. First, emptiness is the actual nature of phenomena. So far, we have an ignorance about the truth nature, that there's always chance to arise the negative thoughts, then the karma. Therefore, we need to realize emptiness. Otherwise, we can be in samsara forever. So why? Then how we can, achieve the cessation, realize emptiness. Then at the end, when we say cease the negative thoughts, include ignorance, we can cease, eliminate within the emptiness. There's a two different meaning. We can achieve cessation, practice the emptiness. We can cease, we can eliminate the negative thoughts, include ignorance within the emptiness. Therefore, it is so important to realize emptiness, because emptiness is the most important part, important practice to eliminate the ignorance, eliminate within the emptiness. This emptiness mainly referred to the emptiness of the mind. Then, third, also historians cited another verses from the 400th stanza. The ignorance is look like the physical sensation, the physical sense. The physical sense completely covered, spread all parts of body. In our head, we have a physical sensation. All parts of our body, we have a physical sensation, right? Without physical sensation, any part of your body, any parts of our body cannot be moved. This is analogy. Physical body is look like all the negative emotions. The physical sensation is look like ignorance. Without the physical sensation, our body cannot be functioned. Without ignorance, any negative emotions, any afflictive emotion cannot be arise. Therefore, any of the negative thoughts, any of the afflictive emotion actually caused by ignorance. This analogy is very important. Physical body and physical sensation, then every emotions, the ignorance. The physical body cannot be separate from the physical sensation, physical sense. When the physical body is separate from the physical sense, the physical body cannot function anymore. In the same way, all the negative emotions, negative thoughts, always function with the ignorance. Therefore, it is important to realize emptiness. Without realizing emptiness, we cannot achieve cessation. Without realizing emptiness, we cannot stop arising all the afflictive emotions. Then how we can realize emptiness? The four point. So due to simple prayers, chanting cannot be cause to realize emptiness. In order to realize emptiness, we need to know the meaning of dependent origination, dependent arising. Clear? That's mean I will do another summary. there are Four Noble Truths. Within the Four Noble Truths, there's a truth of cessation. The truth of cessation can be achieved through two different, like a Buddhist tradition. One is the Theravada, one is the Mahayana. According to Theravada tradition, all the practitioners have to practice the 37 practices. Then you can achieve cessation. Among the 37, the first, there are 4 mindfulness. The mindfulness of physical body is useful, important to know the truth of suffering. The second, mindfulness of feeling. When you do the meditation of feeling, for you very easy to enter into the cause of suffering. The third, mindfulness of the phenomena. When you meditate on the mindfulness of phenomena, then you will easy to enter into the truth of the path. The fourth, the mindfulness of the mind. When you fully meditate on the mind, then slowly you will realize the selflessness of mind. Then for you to very easy to enter into the cessation. This is based on the Theravada tradition. According to Mahayana traditions, when you meditate on the mind, first you need to achieve shamatha. That means first you need, single pointed meditation on the mind. Within the single pointed mind, then you need to analyze the mind. When you analyze the mind, then you will realize the emptiness of the mind based on the, Madhyamaka teaching, mainly Nagarjuna and Aryadeva, right? So the second, why it is so important to realize emptiness? Because the karma caused by afflicted emotions caused by ignorance. Ignorance can be eliminated only when you realize emptiness, otherwise you cannot. The second, what's the connection? What is the relationship between afflicted emotion and ignorance? It is look like ignorance is the physical sensation. Afflicted emotions look like the physical body. All parts of our body, conjoined with the physical sensation. Without physical sensation, any part of our body cannot be moved. It's moving because of the physical sensation. Same way, all the affective emotions always function with the ignorance. Without ignorance, any negative thoughts cannot be arise. So how we can realize emptiness? We can realize emptiness once we understand the dependent origination, dependent arising. Right? Then when His Holiness explained about the emptiness, then His Holiness explained the true tradition in the Madhyamaka. One is the Prasangika, second is the autonomous school. It is very important, Prasangika and autonomous. So when he explained about the two different schools within the Madhyamaka, the first, according to the consequence school, according to the consequence proponent, from their point of view, nothing, any of the phenomena, permanent, impermanent, none of the phenomena exists from object side, objectively. Nothing exists from the object side. Clear? Object side. That means everything merely depend on our thoughts, merely depend on the term and name. It looks like we were watching as a movie. According to the second school, which is the autonomous, according to the autonomous school, all phenomena exist from both sides, from the object, from the subject side. Clear? According to the autonomous school, all phenomena exist from two sides, from both sides, object side and the subject side. For object side, we have a mind, then we named. On the object side, there must be some uniqueness, thing must be there. So he very much emphasized about the two middle way schools. Then in between there, the language is switched into Tibetan, English, English, Tibetan. So I think, I'm not sure all of you are quite clear about not. So according to Chandrakirti point of view, according to the consequences school point of view, if something exists objectively, something exists from the object side, means something exists, truly, something be truly existent. There's a four kind of, falsy. First, the arhat, the meditative acupoint, can be destroyed, the conventional truth. How? For example, when you look at a phenomena, we think that this phenomena exists independently, inherently, right? If we believe this way, then when the arhat, when they realize emptiness without the conceptual mind, when they realize emptiness directly, that moment the arhat realizes emptiness, but the arhat cannot see the truly existent phenomena. The things exist truly, ultimately, then the arhat mind, the arhat, the meditative equipoint mind must realize the conventional, the conventional truth. They cannot. There's a four kind of falsity. If things exist from the object side, thing exists ultimately, then there are four false. Then Hisunen is very much explained about the dependent arising. How things are not exist inherently because things are arise dependently. There's a two words, dependent and arising. The two words put together is become dependent and arising. When we think about the dependent, when you realize things exist dependently, then the thing is indirectly, we have to say the thing is not exist independently. That means it's free from the one of the extreme. Then second, when we think arise, not only just dependent, is arising. When we think about the arising, then is free from the nihilation. So the words dependent arising, dependent origination, this word has a important meaning. Our thoughts free from the two extremes. Extreme of permanent, extreme of nihilism. There's so until here, Desmond His very much explained the meaning of the first will of Dharma. For Noble Truth, the cessation, how to achieve cessation. The cessation can be achieved by two different methods. Even though according to the Hinaya tradition, traditionally they don't accept emptiness, but in the reality, they have to realize emptiness. This is mainly about the first meaning of, first the will of teaching. Then second will of teaching, the teaching of the Prajna Paramita, like Heart Sutara. The Prajna Paramita teaching mainly explain more precisely about the cessation. The cessation, because cessation means cease, eliminate all the negative thoughts, ignorance within the emptiness. Therefore, the second will of Dharma very much explain very detailedly about the cessation, about the emptiness. Then the third will of Dharma, usually we say, the great differentiation of teaching is a part of the third will of Dharma, but the third will of Dharma very much emphasize about the subtle mind. The subtle mind. Then slowly it leads us to practice the Vajrayana. The first teaching mainly Four Noble Truths and cessation. The second will of Dharma very much emphasize about the cessation, emptiness. Then third will of Dharma is a part of the Chitta Mantra, kind of tenets. The mainly it explain the subtle mind. In slowly explain the Vajrayana. Then His Holiness actually start the Madhyamaka teaching. So I think everybody has the English version. Look at the beginning, entering the middle way. Entering the middle way. Here I think everybody know there's three different meaning of the middle way. The middle way of teaching, the middle way of path, the middle way of the person who being in middle way of the middle way of teaching, middle way of path, the middle way of person. Clear? The middle of teaching, the middle way of path, the middle way of the person. So here I thought it's important to explain a little bit about entering into middle way of the teaching. The Prajna Paramita teaching directly explain emptiness. From beginning to end, they always, the words to explain emptiness. Beginning to end, you can see, emptiness. But you cannot see much about bodhicitta, great compassion, renunciation, so and so. But directly explain emptiness indirectly explain all the practices, include bodhicitta. Therefore, Asanga, so when he read, a Parjana Paramita teaching, he had a lot of confusion. One, he didn't know how to put practice, how to put into practice all the parts, because there's no clear explanation. Second, so when he read the Parjana Paramita teaching, there's a lot of repetition, repeat many times, repeat again and again, so he has a confusion. Therefore, he thought, who really can explain me the Parjana Paramita teaching, mainly about the practices like bodhicitta, renunciation, 6 perfections. Then he thought, why not? If I meet Maitreya Buddha, he can explain me, the teachings very well, because Maitreya Buddha was one of the important disciples of the Buddha Shakyamuni. So he was the disciple of Buddha Shakyamuni, that he can explain the teaching. Therefore, Asanga practiced many years to see Maitreya Buddha. At the end, he met Maitreya Buddha, and the Maitreya Buddha explained the hidden meaning of the Parjana Paramita teachings. Therefore, you can see an ornament of the Parjana Paramita. So when you read the ornament of the Parjana Paramita teaching, it's a very systematic, from renunciation all the way to Buddhahood, or how to achieve, how to practice all the paths. Then second, also Nagarjuna, also he really want to put the main important practice, emptiness, in a very simple way. Therefore, the Mulamagga, he mainly explained emptiness. When you open the book from beginning to end, you can see a lot of words. The most of the words, the stanzas explain emptiness. Not much about renunciation, bodhicitta, 6 perfection, 10 bhumis. Not much. You cannot see directly. So indirectly, he explained, the methods, renunciation, bodhicitta, 10 bhumis, directly explain emptiness. Therefore, Chandrakirti, he composed this text, entered into middle way. Mainly, he introduced for the disciple, the Mulamagga not only explained emptiness, also explained bodhicitta, 10 bhumis. Therefore, look at entering into middle way mean this Chandrakirti text important to realize, important to know the hidden, indirect meaning of the Mulamagga Karika. Therefore, you can say enter into the middle way of teaching. The middle way of teaching referred to the Mulamagga Karika, Mulamagga Karika Madhyamaka. Then when he, explained about the entering middle way, I'm not sure you are clearly here or not. First, look at the Charvaka and middle way level Buddhas arise from Surajan stage. Buddha are born from bodhicitta, right? Actually, how we can achieve Buddhahood? Practice of bodhicitta. Therefore, Bodhisattva, right? Buddhas are born from Bodhisattva. Then the compassionate mind, non-dual cognition, as well as the awakening mind, there are the cause of Bodhisattva. Clear? This means Buddha are born from Bodhisattva. Then how Bodhisattva, come into exist? This means practice of compassion, practice of emptiness, practice of bodhicitta, awakening mind. This awakening mind is not actual bodhicitta. Not actual bodhicitta. It's not like the analogy is the sugar candy, right? The sugar cane. When you just choose the sugar cane, you can taste the sweetness. When you really choose the inside the sugar cane, then you can taste the real sweetness of the sugar cane taste. That means when you have a great compassion, then you have the the awakening mind. So the awakening mind is not the actual bodhicitta. It's just before the bodhicitta, there's a mind to wish to be Buddha, not kind of the frame bodhicitta. Then therefore look at as compassion. Therefore I cause bodhicitta. So at the then second paragraph, I will place compassion at the start of all. So this is very important, advice for us. If you wish to achieve Buddhahood, you must be Bodhisattva. How you can be Bodhisattva? If you practice compassion, bodhicitta, emptiness, then you can be Bodhisattva. Then Buddhahood, bodhicitta, Bodhisattva is very much dependent on the great compassion. The great compassion is the seeds to achieve Buddhahood. Therefore, at the beginning, Nagarjuna praised the compassion. Then he already explained there are three kinds of compassion. Three kinds of compassion. First, I bow to the compassion that care for such as suffering beings. The compassion just merely focus on sentient beings. The second compassion, beings are like a reflection of the moon in the replying water. Then because the sentient being, mainly when you realize that all sentient beings as impermanent, then also you can have another kind of compassion. The third, when you realize all sentient beings empty of inherent existence, then you can have a third kind of compassion. There are three kinds of compassions. Then also his Holiness at the end his Holiness explained. So there's a sorry in English, Charvaka and middle level of Buddhas. So there's a big debate between the Theravada and Mahayana between. According to Mahayana tradition, the Bodhisattvas must realize emptiness, otherwise the Bodhisattvas cannot achieve Buddhahood. Not only Bodhisattva, the hearer and solitary realizer also must realize emptiness. Then how we can prove? The Hinayan practitioner also must realize emptiness. How we can approve? Therefore, that time he is quoted from the commentary on the Enter into Middle Way. Here, I think everybody must know the eagle baby. Eagle, right? Eagle baby. Among the birds, eagle is one of the powerful birds. when the eagle baby, when they were born, they have the ability, they have the energy to suppress other birds physically, not mentally. When they grow up, like, then the eagle baby can suppress other birds physically and mentally, because physically become very strong, mentally become very mature. There's an analogy. Second, the Bodhisattva who just achieved, who just accomplished the bodhicitta, then Bodhisattva can surprise the hero and solitary realizer related to the merit. The merit. There's two types of merit. Do you remember? Merit and sublime wisdom. There are two kinds of merits. Whoever have the bodhicitta, the person can be suppress the Hinayan hero and solitary realizer based on the bodhicitta, not based on the wisdom. Because the hearer and solitary realizer also realize emptiness. When the Bodhisattva reached to the seven bhumi, one of the Bodhisattva, whoever the Bodhisattva reached to the seven bhumi, then the Bodhisattva who already achieved the seven bhumi start, then the Bodhisattva can suppress, hero and solitary realizer by wisdom. Because the hero and solitary realizer all has a, like Bodhisattva, they realize emptiness. Therefore, according to the Mahayana tradition, both practitioner, the Hinayan practitioner, Mahayana practitioner, both must realize emptiness. This is the based on the Madhyamaka, from Madhyamaka point of view. So this is, I think, I want to discuss with you. Now we can go through, based on question and answer. If you have any question, if you are not so clear, so feel free, ask me question.
If there's any questions, we will unmute your mic.
Any question?
Be quiet.
Yeah, is there any question? If not, Kishala, I would like to ask a question.
Yeah, please.
On the stanza 3, there is first the thought of I am, and then there's a thought of mind.
Oh.
So, yeah, so can Kishala and share more about these two types of emptiness pertaining to self-grasping, pertaining to the objective I? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think this question is stanza number 2.
Number 3, 1.3 on English.
1.3, right? Okay, 1.3. 1.3. First, with the thought, I am, they cling to the self. Then, with the thoughts, mind, they become attached to the things. It's talking about, the order of the two kinds of grasping, self-grasping, and grasping about the belonger. I'm not saying belongings. So, how we have, all the negative thoughts. For example, when we see beautiful object, a beautiful object, then we think, yeah, the object is so beautiful. It is mine. The thing belongs to me. Me, this is mine, mine. That moment, there's an I. I. It's very difficult to understand, but let's say when you think I want to go, that time there's a thought, thinking, going. Whom going? I want to go. Right? That moment there's no action, just have a thought. Want to go. That time there's an I. Second, when you move your body, then here there's another I. I am going. Now here, you really need to differentiate between the I, which is merely saying I want to go. Second, when you are moving, that moment there's an I, think that there's a thought. That's it, I am going. That moment, the second I. Same thing, this thing is mine. The mine. That thing belongs to me. Say this book is mine. For example, this book is my book. It is mine. That moment, there's I. This kind of I we thought mine. Because the I, feel something belongs to the I. Therefore, first there's a thought, there's an I. We should not mix, the thoughts and I. For example, I told you, I want to go. There's a thought, thinking, going. At the same time, there's an I, think, I want to go. Second, when you move, there's a thought. The thought thing, I am going. That moment, there's an I, which is moving towards somewhere. So you need to know the two different I. Actually, both of these I, but we name I and mine. Actually, both of them is I. So first, if you have a self-grasping about the I, we think the I exists independently. Second, the I's, which is think I am going. Then second, I also, graph as a independent existence. He's talking about the sequence of how I's arise. Second, how, second I, which is mine, is explain the sequence of how I's arise. Second, how, mine arise. Mine is not referred to the belongings. Clear? When you say, this is my book, that moment, there's a book, there's a I, the I feel this book is belong to I. This I we call mine. Mine not refer to the book. For example, then my body, right? Me and my body. When you think this is my body, that moment there's an I. The eyes feel the body belongs to the I. This I also we call mind. The mind not refer to the body, which is feel this is my body. Therefore, in order to differentiate these two things, first, I, there's a thought. Second, there's another I. The I thought this belongs to me. There's a second I also thought I am moving. So first, I's we grasp, we have a grasping, self-grasping as a I. The second, when you think something belongs to me, then automatically you have a self-grasping about the second I. Then when you think, oh, this belongs to me, then you have a two thoughts. One, the I's, you feel I exist independently. Second, the belonging, the book, the body also, you feel exists independently. Then there's an attachment. Then there's an angers. It's explaining how, I arise, how mind arise, how attachment arise. So in order to know this, I think you really need to read about the chapter 6 in the Inter-Middle Way with the Ramaswamy commentary. Got clear? Okay. Thank you. Any question?
Hi, Kishila. Kishila, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. This morning, Colina talked about without realizing the emptiness of the aggregate, which is selflessness of phenomena, a person cannot realize selflessness of person. That was what I understood. But if you read the middle length rim of Lama Tsongkhapa, there's a section it always says that selflessness of person is easier to realize than selflessness of phenomena. So these two seems to be contradictory. Do you get me?
Yes, yes. I think here everybody, when we say selflessness, there's a two different views. View from the two lower schools, and also first two lower schools, and also Chitta Mantra, also the autonomous school. There's a big difference in the meaning of selflessness from the Pasangika view and the rest of the school. Clear? According to Pasangika school, the selflessness of person, the selflessness of the phenomena, there's no gross and subtle. Both of them has a subtle emptiness. Clear? According to the Pasangika school, the selflessness of the person, the selflessness of the phenomena, there's no subtle and gross. Both of these are totally in a subtle level. When you compare the other school, the meaning of selflessness, there's a big difference. According to the rest of the school, rest of the proponent, the selfless person is very gross. So when you realize selflessness of person, according to the first two school, Chitta Mantra, or the autonomous school, you realize selflessness of person, but you haven't realized selflessness of the person of emptiness. Therefore, first you need to differentiate. According to the first, fourth school and the Pasangika, there's a different. Clear? Different. According to the Pasangika school, the selflessness of person, the selflessness of phenomena, the negation is same. There's no differences between negation of the selfless person, selflessness of the phenomena. The negation is same. But according to the first or four schools, the negation is different. Therefore, first you should differentiate, based on the Pasangika school and the rest of the school. And yes, realizing emptiness of the person is easy. Realizing emptiness of the phenomena is a bit difficult. And also, you should not confuse what Hisuline says when he was reading the commentary on the Inter-Middle Way, by Lama Tsongkhapa. So one day, he have a very strong feeling. Oh, the I. You should not say I. Okay, he says the I. He didn't say I no exist. He said the I no exist. He didn't say I no exist. The I mean the I, which is permanent, singleness, and permanent,
Unitary.
and one called uniqueness, unity, right?
Yeah, permanent unitary.
Yeah. When he was reading the Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary on the Middle Way, he realized the gross level of selflessness, not the subtle level of selflessness.
Oh,
Then later, when he read, the Mulamaga Grika, then he realized the selflessness of the phenomena. Yes, there's a understanding is a bit easier and difficult is there. It doesn't mean there's a difference between emptiness of the phenomena, emptiness of the person. These are same levels. Clear? Is quite clear?
yeah.
Okay. Next question.
Any questions for Geshe-la?
Mm-hmm.
I think we have Joey and Sui Kim to raise hands.
Yeah, Zoe, you can unmute and
Okay, thank you. Hello, Geshe-la.
Hello.
Please refer to chapter 1, stanza 5. From that point on, having attained this ground, he's hailed by the name Bodhisattva alone. So in this case, the Bodhisattva is specifically referring to Bodhisattva by view, by realization, or Bodhisattva by action, or both, Geshe-la.
Okay. Chapter 1, right? 1.5.
First Bhumi.
Yeah. Actually, the 10 bhumis, okay, I think the simple way I can explain to you. Entry into Mahayana or not is depend on bodhicitta. When you accomplish bodhicitta, you become bodhisattva. But you haven't reached to the first bhumi. Then first is accumulation, preparation, seeing. When you reach to the seeing path, then you achieve the ultimate bodhicitta. You enter into the arhat path. Then you already entered into the first bhumi. The first bhumi, second bhumi, third, all the way 10. It depends on how much you have a progress about the wisdom which realizes emptiness. Not how much progress in the bodhicitta. Still, you need to practice the wisdom with the bodhicitta. Yes, the bodhicitta, the first ground is mainly about the action, not only the prayers. Yeah, action is correct. Is more is mainly about action of the emptiness. Next question. Any question?
Yes.
we'll go to Siew Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Geshe-la,
Mm-hmm.
can I ask about the 3 kinds of compassion that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
the difference between them, and for a bodhisattva to generate bodhicitta, which kind of compassion does it need?
Okay. For example, compassion, okay, is 3 kinds of compassions. For example, when we see the being is totally suffered, suddenly we have a compassion. This is, we call, compassion only absorb the sentient being. Clear? Absorb the sentient beings, the sentient being. Second, when you think about the sentient being who are suffered, when you think about the being who are suffered, then slowly you realize the sentient being who are suffered, it also, he or she, it also impermanent. Impermanent. Due to not realizing impermanent, the person having a lot of sufferings. Then second, you have another compassion, which is absorb not only suffering being, absorb the being are impermanent. Then third, you're not just absorbing the being is just sentient being, the being is impermanent. Also you absorb the being is, who are suffering is totally, empty of inherent existence. There's are three compassions. Here you need to know, there's a two types of bodhisattva. One is very intelligent, very wise. One is not that intelligent, not that wise. The wise bodhisattvas, before he generate bodhicitta, before he have a strong aspiration to achieve Buddhahood, he or she must realize emptiness. Emptiness. The bodhisattvas who are not that intelligent, not that wise, then he or she first generate bodhicitta, second realize emptiness. It depends on the bodhisattvas, Without realizing the emptiness, the person can be bodhisattva. Therefore, in order to practice bodhicitta, in order to be bodhisattva, it is not necessary to practice the great compassion, which is absorb. The being is empty of inherent existence. Clear?
Yep. Thank you.
Next question.
Next question, Geshe-la will go back to Mui Ching. She would like to clarify again on her questions.
Okay.
Mui Ching, please.
Geshe-la, I'm sorry, I don't think you really understood what I was asking. So can I repeat my question to you again? I'm sorry. I heard this morning, Holiness saying that without realizing the emptiness of the aggregate. So realizing the emptiness of the aggregate to me means realization of selflessness of phenomena. Okay.
Yeah.
One, he said something like, without realizing, therefore to me it seems to me that without realization of selflessness of phenomena, a person cannot realize selflessness of person. I understood like that. But in Lama Tsongkhapa's text, selflessness of person is said to be usually realized before one realizes selflessness of phenomena. Therefore, there is a contradiction that I'm confused.
Yeah, I understood your question. Thank you. Mainly, she was saying this morning, he already said, without realizing emptiness of the five aggregates. Okay, here I think everybody need to know the concept. The being, the person is the phenomena which depend on the five aggregates. For example, we human being, mainly designated based on the five aggregates. Without realizing emptiness of the five aggregates, usually say you cannot realize emptiness of the person. That means person is the phenomena which is designated based on the five aggregates, right? So she was saying, without realizing emptiness of five aggregates, the person cannot realize emptiness of the self. It's very correct. Correct. Then Lama Tsongkhapa says, without realizing emptiness of the five aggregates, still the person can realize emptiness of the self. Here is the simple what you need to add. Without realizing emptiness of the five aggregates, the person cannot realize the semblance of person completely.
Oh, I see. Understand now, thank you.
Completely, you need to net completely. Therefore, history is told, right? First, I realized emptiness of the person. When we think about the physical body, but I didn't have the same feeling. He said, because I still clinging, the five aggregates exist independently. Now, simple words. Remember, the person cannot realize separateness of person completely. Yeah.
Thank you, understand.
Okay, thank you. Any question or shall we stop?
One more question for me, Ling.
Okay, so we can have one question, then we can stop.
Yeah, Yiling, you can unmute your mic.
His Holiness mentioned the sevenfold analysis in his teachings today. Yeah, in terms of practice, does this mean that we need to analyze it in relation to the various schools? So starting first from Sautrantika view and then Chittamani view and then one by one, which means then we'll have to have a full understanding of all the tenets in detail. Or are we able to follow through the analysis but try to base it directly on Prasangika Madhyamika view? Thank you.
It's depend on the, but it's really very much depend on the person. If the person is very intelligent about analytical meditation, about the analysis, the person can go directly enter into the Madhyamaka school, particularly Prasangika school. You no need to go, through all the rest of the schools. If the person is not that intelligent, then the person better to go by, first step, study about the first two schools, about the selflessness, then little bit about Chitta Mantra, then little bit about the consequences school, then you can realize, the actual emptiness based on the Prasangika point of view. It depends on the person. Because it looks like, same thing. For example, when we look at some phenomena, some phenomena, one of the any phenomena, sometimes we think the phenomena is permanent, right? Still we need to reject. Still we need to negate that this phenomena is not permanent. Yes, slowly you understand if this thing is not permanent, it's impermanent. Still you think, if this thing is not exist, from the object side, it's mainly maybe from the subject side. Then you need to study about the Chitta Mantra school. Then slowly you must study a little bit about the Prasangika and between Prasangika and the autonomous school. Because when you think about how things are exist, particularly from the two middle way school, there's a very subtle difference. There's not much, so difficult to understand the differences between the between the two Madhyamaka school. Yes, for you, simply say, the person is very intelligent, then he can just go into the directly Pasangika school. If the person is not intelligent, very slow learner person, they better to go by step. And also here what His Holiness said, for us very easy to have an understanding of emptiness, bodhicitta, great compassion, we can understand. So when we really practice, great compassion, emptiness, there's no any different, no much progress. Therefore, first we need to listen, we need to study, then we must do a lot of reflection on the emptiness or bodhicitta. Then we need to do a lot of meditation. Then the meditation must be with the, like a lot of merit, a lot of positive actions. Only study, only listening, you really cannot really understand emptiness. Also, we really cannot accomplish the bodhicitta. All the practices, meditation must go with the merit and, a lot of positive actions. Therefore, here also His Holiness mentioned, how Lama Tsongkhapa, went for long retreat. Therefore, Lama Tsongkhapa said, because Lama Tsongkhapa can understand the emptiness, the constant emptiness. When he really tried to realize emptiness, he had a lot of difficulties. Then he asked the question to Manjushri. The Manjushri said, you must compound, right? Purifying and accumulating merit. Then finally, Lama Tsongkhapa fully realized emptiness. Yes.
Thank you so much, Geshe-la. Thank you.
Geshe-la, the next questions come from Arushi. He says that His Holiness mentioned about 4 kinds of compassion. Would you please help to explain?
No, there's only 3 kinds of. Based on the, you can see, in the English text. Look at 1.2. Then 1.3, such suffering beings. Then 1.4, the first line, being are like reflection of the moon in the rippling water. The third one, seeing them as a fleeting and as a devoted from the intrinsic nature. I think there's only, based on these teachings, there's 3 kinds of compassion. I'm not sure, I didn't hear his Holiness mention about 4 kinds of compassion. The Tibetan call Samjala Mikbenije, Shola Mikbenije, Mingmela Mikbenije, only 3. Okay, any question?
Yeah. Next, we'll turn to Wayne La.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Geshe-la. So just add on to Sri Kim questions, just clarifications and your answers. You mentioned just now, actually, there are 3 types of compassions. One is pertaining to the sentient beings who are suffering. Second one is pertaining to the sentient beings, viewing sentient beings as momentary disintegrating. Second compassion, which is examples of the moon in the stirring in the water. The third one is actually looking at sentient beings as empty inherent existence.
Yeah,
so you shared just now, actually, there are 2 types of bodhisattva in the way. One is before the generate the expressionary bodhicitta, and the other one is actually to generate emptiness first. So I cannot assume that actually probably the one who has not generate emptiness, bodhicitta who has not generate emptiness will not able to probably generate the third kind of compassion, which is pertaining to the sentient beings, to see them as empty of inherent existence. Is it because they have not realized emptiness, they were not able to so-called apply the third type of compassion?
In order to, we should not say just only generate. In order to accomplish, in order to have an actual bodhicitta in their mind stream, the person no need to realize emptiness. also the person no need to realize, apply the third level of compassion. So the third level of compassion also is mainly observe the sentient being, but that is observed different way. The sentient beings, feel compassion based on the person. The beings are empty of inherent existence. Feel compassion, the person is, the beings are impermanent. But the third level of compassion is not absorbing, emptiness of the sentient being. It's just absorb the sentient being, but be different way. Different way. For example, what here His Holiness mentioned in one day in the teachings. For example, you just sit at edge of the next to the river. So you are next to the river. You can see the river is flowing, flowing, moving. In the middle, there's a person who are totally, sinking in the water, ruining in the water. Then somehow you also saw next to the person, there's a piece of, wood, piece of things moving around the person. That moment you really wish, oh, the person must be, grab a wood, must hold the, piece of thing next to him, that the person, can be saved. Therefore, when you think about why sentient beings have so many sufferings, because of the karma, because of the emotions, because of the, emotion, because of the ignorance, actually then you think, yeah, the person really cannot realize emptiness. Therefore, the person always feels, always in sufferings. So this is we should not, mix the compassion also absorbing emptiness of the sentient being. No. It's mainly absorb the sentient being, but different way of sentient beings. The sentient being is empty of inherent existence. The being is impermanent. The being has a lot of sufferings. Therefore, in order to accomplish bodhicitta, the person no need to practice the third level of emptiness. Got clear? Still confusion?
Slightly, because the third type of compassion, within compassion is actually a positive phenomenon. But, emptiness in inherent system is a negative phenomenon. So there's a contradictory.
No, therefore, the third level of compassion is not really focusing the emptiness. It is about the sentient being. First they realize, emptiness of a person, then switch the focus to the sentient being, not the emptiness.
Okay, so it's a positive phenomenon that we are meditating or we are looking at. Basically looking at migrators who have the properties of empty of inherent existence.
Yeah,
okay.
correct.
Therefore,
compassion always need to observe, always must be focused on sentient being, not the emptiness. Yeah.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Okay,
so
if we have one more question, then we can stop today.
Yeah, so next question will turn to Si Qi.
Tashi Delek Geshe-la. I'm just wondering, right, if every one of us are cultivating towards reborning as human beings and nobody is cultivating towards other realms, wouldn't we be too self-centered to only care for ourselves and neglect other realms?
Can you repeat the question again?
So I'm wondering if every one of us are cultivating towards reborning as human beings and nobody is cultivating towards other realms, wouldn't we be too self-centered to only care for ourselves and neglect other realms?
How do you think this way?
How would I think this way? Because every one of us is like working towards a way of cultivating Buddhahood.
No. Look at Therefore, I think we have to be very careful when we practice, the Mahayana path. Mahayana path. As a Mahayana practitioner, the Buddhahood is not our main achievement, not our main goals.
Oh, okay.
Our main goal is to benefit all sentient beings.
Yeah.
The Buddhahood is look like, in order to benefit all sentient beings, I have to be Buddha.
Mm.
Yeah, you do remember the container and the water. The people are very thirsty. You need to bring water. So you are mainly focused to bring water to the thirsty being, but the pot is, you still need the pot. You still need a container. Therefore, we always wish to, all sentient being born in the higher realms, always be happy, always, free from sufferings. It's not only your own benefits. You're not thinking about your own benefits. You're thinking about benefit others. Therefore, this cannot be self-centered. It cannot be selfish. Because you think only benefit others. And also look at, somebody asked question last week, if I practice bodhicitta, I can accumulate a lot of merits. Or if I practice bodhicitta, I can be Buddha, right? So this is, I think, quite mistaken way of thinking. You should not think, if I practice bodhicitta, I can accumulate a lot of merit. If I practice bodhicitta, I can be very happy. You can be happy automatically, you can accumulate a lot of merit automatically, because you only mainly think, I want to be Buddha, to benefit all sentient beings, then your own happiness, your own welfare will come automatically. Therefore, you should not think, this kind of self-centered, kind of little bit selfish. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm.
So shall we stop? We have a few questions. What do you think, Wen?
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Okay, Geshe-la, we can stop.
Okay, so thank you so much. I think tomorrow we also have a same revision class. When you listen the teaching, I think please everybody keep a note. So according to, if you really don't know, if you're not so clear, they keep a note, then you must ask a question. Clear?
Okay.
Okay, and thank you so much. Then have a happy day and take care.